Welcome back, Beaver Nation, to another edition of the Beaver Sports Show, and it's certainly great to be back for another term. Joining me once again is my talented colleague Alex Crawford, and new to the desk this term from the Oregon State men's golf team is Johnny Motomochi.
Boon, thanks a lot for having me back. I don't know if you guys can feel it, but I feel there's a lot of good chemistry with this crew, a lot of good energy. I'm really excited for this season of the Beaver Sports Show. And Johnny, I'm sorry about the Canucks, man. I feel your pain.
The Canucks are more than a hockey team. It's a culture in Vancouver, and it sucks right now, to be honest. It's awful. It's an awful feeling.
Well, Johnny, hopefully they don't get swept this weekend, but one team that is certainly hotter than the Vancouver Canucks is the OSU baseball team, as they hosted Arkansas Pine Bluff at Goss Stadium this past weekend and then traveled up to Portland to take on the Portland Pilots. Coming up, we'll have highlights from OSU's weekend.
And football spring practice is in full swing as Mike Riley's squad looks to bounce back from 2 consecutive losing seasons.
And coming also up, we'll also have updates on softball, rowing, soccer, and women's golf.
You're watching the Beaver Sports Show. Stay tuned.
From the KBVR TV studio on the campus of Oregon State University, this is the Beaver Sports Show.
The Oregon State baseball team returned to the diamond this weekend after picking up 2 midweek wins against the Nevada Wolfpack in Reno. With a 21-11 overall record heading into the series against Arkansas Pine Bluff, Pat Casey's team could not afford to have a letdown against the inferior Golden Lions of Arkansas. With more on the baseball team's weekend, here's Sports Show reporter Kazra Azizian.
Men's baseball team had a 3-game homestand this weekend against Arkansas Pine Bluff. The Beavers took the first 2 games of the weekend, winning 5-3 and 12-2. Sunday was more of the same as the Beavers jumped out early with solid hitting throughout the lineup. Michael Conforto had a stellar outing as he laces one past the second baseman and brings in 2 runs in the second inning. Then again in the fourth, he singles to right for 2 more RBIs. Conforto had a massive day and finished with 4 hits and 4 at-bats with 4 RBIs and 2 runs scored. And the runs did not stop coming for the Beavers as Joey Matthews triples to right to bring in 2 more. The Beavers had 18 hits, producing 16 runs on 14 RBIs. Beaver pitching was on point as well as Taylor Starr pitched 5 innings with only 2 hits and 1 run and striking out 3. Good defense by the Beavers kept Arkansas at bay all game. And finally, a solo home run in the 7th by Dylan Davis was just the cherry on top of this one. Beavers win 16-2.
With the weekend sweep of Arkansas Pine Bluff in the books, the Beavers went up to Portland on Monday to play a makeup game against the non-conference Portland Pilots. The Beaver bats continue to rattle as Michael Conforto batted in his league-leading 51st RBI, and Jake Rodriguez sent a 3-run homer over the fence in the second inning to send the Beavs up 4-0. Dan Child started on the mound and went 7 1/3 without allowing a run and recording the win. The Beavers beat the Pilots 5-0. The Beavers now on a 6-game winning streak and with a record of 24-11 prepare for a home series against the Pac-12 opponents, the UCLA. For the Beaver Sports Show, I'm Kaz. Back to you guys.
And now we'll get a spring football update straight from the horse's mouth with Jack Lomax and Mitch Singler interviewing Marcus Wheaton and Malcolm Agnew.
This is Marcus Wheaton, number 2, senior wide receiver. Jack Lomax, number 17, junior. And I'm Mitch Singler, number 21, receiver. So Marcus, how did today go and how's spring ball going for you?
Pretty good. I think we had a great practice today. We did a little bit of contact stuff. I feel like our offense is coming along pretty well.
Good. Coming off of a rough season, how do you give motivation to your team and find motivation, and what's going to be different this year?
I feel like as a competitor, coming back, I think we all, got that chip on our shoulder for next year as motivation. He's out there working. Looking forward to a great season.
You're a senior this year. How do you find your role as a senior? What kind of responsibility roles do you have towards your teammates, and how you got to lead them and be a leader?
I'm trying to take on that vocal, leadership role, but I'm not really a vocal person. So I try to lead by example.
There you
go. Running back Malcolm Agnew. So Malcolm, how's spring ball going for you?
It's going pretty well, Started out pretty well. you know, knowing all my plays, not really making many mistakes. But as far as injuries, that's a really frustrating part.
Going through this offseason, we had a tough year last year. How do you find motivation for the team? What's the motivation going through for this year to make it better?
A few things, actually. I think the main thing for us to all be successful, like not just with the whole team, but with ourselves. Because like I read a book by John Wooden about success, and there's this really cool success pyramid I have that I want to show everyone. But I think, you know, just being successful with what we do is what we really work on.
What's one of the main things you think we need to improve on to get better?
Attention to detail. You know how they always preach it. I think we really need to work on, like, you know, getting it out here. I think we get it in the meeting room, but a lot of times we come out here and just do our own thing sometimes, instead of really getting that detail down. I think that would be the main difference.
Shifting to school-wise, do you find it hard being a student athlete here?
It can be difficult at times, especially like during season when we have to travel and stuff like that. We have home road the weekend, but I don't think it's all that bad. I think they give us a lot of good resources to help us out and be successful.
Okay. Tell us one thing about Malcolm Agnew. Someone wouldn't know
Something
about
you want the fans to know. One thing.
Well, I mean, they all know I'm a child of God, but they really don't know that I'm a huge baseball fan and hockey fan.
How many fantasy baseball teams you have?
7 actually.
7.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan of a lot of sports
He knows
other
his
than
stuff.
football.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Well, thank you.
The women's golf team was in Half Moon Bay, California this weekend, playing the beautiful Half Moon Bay Golf Links for the Pacific Intercollegiate, hosted by the University of California, Davis and the University of Oregon. The women's golf team had one of their best scoring tournaments in school history, shooting .878, 26 over par. Their 26 over total is the second best mark in the history of the program. In the final round, behind Seisha Teller's bogey-free 2 under par 70 and Whitney French's personal best 2 under par 70, the team shot an even par 288. The team's score of even par is also their second best scoring performance in a single round. Freshman Annika Yu continued her steady play, shooting 76, 73, 74, along with sophomore Lauren Sewell shooting scores of 75, 75, 74. Junior Rachel Fisher rounded it out for the Beavs, shooting 239 for the 3 rounds. The Pacific Coast Intercollegiate was the last regular season tournament in the women's golf schedule. In 2 weeks, they'll be traveling to Pullman, Washington to compete in the Pac-12 Championships, hosted by Washington State University at Palouse Ridge Golf Course on April 27th to April 29th.
The Oregon State softball team traveled to Palo Alto, California to take on the Stanford Cardinal in a Pac-12 conference matchup this past weekend. Sports Show reporter Milan Laurent has the story.
On Friday, junior Desiree Beltran hit her 6th home run of the season, but it wasn't enough to overcome the Cardinal as the Beavs lost the game 8-4. Freshman Yael Garcia tallied her first Pac-12 RBI when she singled to center field to put Oregon State on top 1-0. The score remained close until the bottom of the 5th when Stanford exploded for 7 runs on 7 hits, highlighted by a grand slam that gave the Cardinal an 8-2 edge. The Beavers wouldn't go quietly, however, as Beltran destroyed the pitch over the scoreboard in left field in the final frame, making the final score 8-4. In addition to her 2-for-3 night, Danny Gilmore also stole another base and is now 11 for 12 in stolen bases this season. One more stolen base will put the freshman into the top 10 in Oregon State history for stolen bases in a single season. On Saturday afternoon, Oregon State was shut out for only the 2nd time all year, losing a 7-0 decision to Stanford. Junior Elizabeth Santana reached base for the 11th consecutive game. The starting shortstop went 1 for 2 on the day, continuing her hot streak since the start of Pac-12 play. In the team's last 11 games, Santana is batting .455 in 33 play appearances with 3 home runs, 11 RBI, and 7 runs scored. Senior Erin Guzzi extended her hitting streak to 3 in a row, her 8th multi-hit game of the year. Her double in the 7th was the 28th of her career, placing her just 2 shy of moving into the top 10 in Oregon State history. For the first time all season, the number 23 Oregon State softball team was unable to come out of a weekend with at least 1 win, as the Beavs dropped the final game of a 3-game series on Sunday 8-0. According to OCBeavers.com, head coach Kirk Walker was quoted with an optimistic attitude. "This is really our first subpar performance all season. It's disappointing, but it's bound to happen at some point during the grind of the Pac-12 schedule. We have to continue to look forward. There are still a lot of games to be played and a lot of wins to be had as we push toward an NCAA tournament berth." With the 3 losses to Stanford, OSU fell from 23rd in the nation to 27th, according to the RPI. The Beavers will host rival Washington this weekend in a 3-game series starting on Friday at 3 p.m. at the OSU softball complex.
The number 18 men's rowing team continued rowing strong this last weekend, and women's rowing placed second in the Michigan Invitational. With more on the rowing teams, here is sports reporter Morgan Bowman.
Last weekend, the OSU women's rowing team took 4 boats to Michigan. There was 2 varsity 8s, a varsity 4, and a novice brought their top boat to compete with. In Michigan, the girls raced against the University of Tennessee, Michigan, and Ohio State. They did very well against these schools, and overall, their novice 8 had the fastest time in their category. They pulled ahead of Ohio State and managed to win by less than a second, with a great time of 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Also, this past weekend, the OSU men's rowing team traveled out to Redwood City, California for the Stanford Invite Regatta. We took 3 boats, 2 varsity 8s, and 1 novice 8. In California, we lined up against some of the top crews in the nation. Over the weekend, we saw University of Cal Davis, Cal Berkeley, Wisconsin University, Stanford, and the University of Cal San Diego. Out of these 15 schools that raced at the Pac-12 Challenge, OSU finished in the top 5 with the combined results of this weekend and last weekend against Gonzaga. The Beavers are starting off their season with great success.
Thanks, Morgan. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll discuss some of the most important topics in OSU athletics. Welcome back, Beaver Nation, and it's this time of the show that we are going to have Alex and Johnny debate some of the most important OSU topics. So to start things off, guys, if OSU has another losing season in football, how hot does Mike Riley's job seat get, given that they've already had 2 consecutive losing seasons?
Well, I'll start this one off. I mean, Mike Riley signed basically the equivalent of a lifetime contract here at OSU. He's the Joe Paterno of the West Coast, regardless of Jerry Sandusky sandals. He is the Joe Paterno of the West Coast. This guy's going to be long tenured. You know, amidst all the scandals in college football recently, obviously Bobby Petrino over in the SEC, he's gone. The Pac-12 is home to some of the sleaziest coaches in college football, Rich Rodriguez, Mike Leach, etc. I think Oregon State fans, just Oregon State in general, is going to be very happy to have a coach like Mike Riley who's respectable, who you don't have to worry about scandal with. Yes, they'd like to see some more wins, but Mike Riley's seat is not hot. It's colder than a polar bear's toenails, Boon.
All right, I like it. Johnny, what do you think?
Mike Riley, one of the best guys that I know. Great guy. The fans, the alumni, they want wins now, though. They want it now. And Bob DeCarellis has a lot of pressure on him. And yes, Mike Riley has a lifetime contract, but what if we go 3-9 again next year?
If that were to happen, Johnny, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hot would his job seat get, do you think?
I'd probably say 5. I'd say 5 because he does have that lifetime contract.
That's pretty lukewarm. It's not too hot. I'm just saying.
Well, Alex, how about with the success that Oregon's having in college football nowadays, how much more pressure does that put on Mike Riley, especially with the fans and wanting wins when they see Oregon going to 3 consecutive BCS games?
That does put pressure on, obviously, because of the rivalry there with U of O. But, I mean, I just think the problem with fans nowadays, and probably always throughout the history, is that they want wins now. They want instant gratification.
But they're always going to be like that.
I know,
Fans are always going to be like that.
I just think that Bob DeCarellis and the athletic department has more of, a long-term vision where they go, okay, we have a losing season, But Mike Riley's been there before. He's proven it.
Long-time vision? He's been here for 10 years.
Yeah, but I'm just saying even more. And out of those 10 years,
he might be the longest tenured coach in the Pac-12.
Okay,
I'll tell you why I said a 5. I said a 5 because if the athletic department sticks to their grounds, he will stay. If they give in to the pressure of Beaver Nation, he might have to go. And so maybe it's not an 8, but you're thinking it's a 0.
That's like a 2. I just think I don't know, I trust Bob DeCarellis more than that to give into the pressure of Beaver Nation.
I think one of the best points is if Mike Riley were ever to be let go, who could they get as a coach that would be better than Mike Riley? Because when you do fire a coach, you want to get something better, someone better. And honestly, I think Mike Riley is the best fit for Oregon State.
Bobby Petrino is available. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I hope you're joking. I think Mike Riley is easily the best fit for OSU in the entire country, and he's one of the most respected coaches in the country.
I'm not disagreeing.
It's a tough question, I know.
But I just think that if our athletic department gives him the pressure, that he might have to go.
Yeah, I definitely think if they do have another losing season, the fans are definitely going to be calling, and we're going to see it in the ticket, number of sales. I think the attendance will drop, which will speak volumes to Bobby Careless.
Definitely.
Next question: with Jared Cunningham announcing that he's going to go pro next year, does OSU have a chance of having a better record, or will they have a better record than this year?
I'll take it. All right. They have a really tough out-of-conference schedule last year. 7-11 in the Pac-12 this year. I just can't see it. Your star player, you're second in the conference in points per game. I can't see it. You put the ball in Jared's hands. Jared wants the ball. Jared needs the ball coming down the stretch. And they just don't have anyone. I don't know what the incoming freshmen are really about, but as of right now, that team does not have a go-to scorer.
I'm going to disagree with you, Johnny. I think that although the team is going to be hurt without Jared Cunningham, I think with Jared Cunningham, they're absolutely an NCAA tournament team next year and preseason Pac-12 top 3. But I still think without him, they're still going to have a good season. They're going to have a better season than this year. I mean, there's a lot of offensive weapons on this team. We haven't really seen what Roberto Nelson can do coming into the program. He was said in Sports Illustrated, a program-changing recruit. So, I mean, I think possibly, okay, this is just me being top of the line, optimistic. Maybe we're better off without Jared Cunningham, with Roberto Nelson, who's an offensive powerhouse. Other than that, I still think that our team's going to improve. All the other players are going to improve. Besides Cunningham, who are we losing? Kevin McShane. I'm not too worried. I think we're still going to have a great season this year.
And certainly guys are going to have to step up, and they know that going into the offseason. It's much better to lose Cunningham now, knowing that he won't be here next year at all, than to lose him the day before the season starts.
I agree.
Next year, and then all of a sudden you're searching for pieces to fill. This recruiting class that's going to be here next year, they're very highly regarded. There's a couple players that are real standouts, but they're going to be freshmen, and you can't expect another Jared Cunningham in that group and just assume it.
Top 3 in the Pac-12?
With Cunningham next year, I think they would be. Without him, no, they won't be top 3 preseason, but I still think at the end of the season, they're going to have more wins than they did this season with or without Jared.
Do you think they get to the NCAA tournament next year without Jared?
That's a tough question, Boone. That's a tough question.
Or is it another CBI?
I think it's NCAA tournament.
Okay.
I think it's NCAA tournament.
I mean, that's being the most optimistic that you can be.
You know who's going to get better? Angus Brandt's going to get better. He's got a variety of weapons in the post. Roberto Nelson's going to shine. I think Daniel Gomez didn't play a lick this year. That dude is supposed to be a defensive powerhouse, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, and then you have to think about Devon Collier and Eric Moreland. But
it's not the defense. It's the offense. Angus has very little inside game. It's all perimeter shooting. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with the system that they run. And if the system doesn't get better, they need more run and gun. They score a lot of points doing that. And we saw it throughout the year. Our half-court sets, not that great. And I think that needs to change in order for us to get better. It's not as much the players as it is the system.
The big question will be are they going to be able to run and gun it next year without Jared? Obviously, Jared was such a great player, spreading the floor, getting out ahead of everybody. And with Ahmad Starks, they both did that excellent. But now it's only Ahmad, and other guys are going to have to step up. So, Johnny, I do agree with your point that without Jared, it's going to be a lot harder to be that up-tempo team and to be 9th in the country in scoring.
I mean, just think about Jared's growth as a player, though. I mean, coming in as a freshman, no one thought he was going to end up being kind of the guy that would have to leave early, or not have to, but would choose to leave early. And you're going to have Ahmad Starks going from his sophomore to junior year. Could be huge improvement there. And you're going to have a bunch of guys that have just been in the system for a while. They're going to be improving a lot. So I just think that regardless of whether or not they had Jared, their season was going to improve. And I mean, you're losing a great player in Jared Cunningham. And I think maybe at the start they're going to take some getting used to. But
I mean, I hope you're right. Don't get me wrong. But Jared has such an impact on this program. He had such an impact with his high-flying plays. And it's just going to be hard. It's kind of safe for me to say that.
It is.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle.
What do you think the expectation should be then? Any other team, they're returning 4 out of their 5 starters. They're returning 10 out of the 12 guys that normally play. They only lose Kevin McShane as a senior and he was just played 10 minutes a game.
It should be high. It should be high, Boon. And I mean.
But do you think it should be high for OSU? So it should be high for OSU is what you're saying.
It should be.
Okay.
Within the program, it definitely should be. For me personally, I don't really though, because I have high expectations every year of them getting better and better. And yeah, we did show promise in the preseason, but really after that, the Pac-12 season, it was a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think the expectations within the program should be high. Will they be high within the media? Will there be any hype? No, not at all. Oregon State's not going to get any love in the offseason from the media, but I think this team can thrive on that. So
all right.
The talent is there.
I definitely agree. So third question, it's a little bit out there, but of all of OSU's sports, which team is best set up to compete or win a national championship?
For me, it's gymnastics. I mean, they go to the national championship every single year. 7 years in a row, I believe. They haven't made the Super 8 yet, which is the next round in the national championship, but I mean, they're consistently in the top 10 all the time. And if they don't at least compete for a national championship this year and the years going forward, I think it's kind of a disappointment for the program, so I think it's gymnastics.
I'm actually going to agree with you, Johnny. I definitely think it's gymnastics. They're the only team that's like right on the cusp, that's right on the edge of making that huge leap forward. And like you said, they haven't been to the Super 8, but they've been in the top 10, almost throughout the entire last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think gymnastics is the only one with a real shot. Maybe baseball, just because they've been there before.
And I was thinking baseball also because baseball is such a momentum sport.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get hot at the right time, we saw it with the Beaver program a few years ago.
Yep.
I mean, if you get hot at the right time in baseball,
that's just how it is.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And it's especially with a coach like Pat Casey, who's one of the best in the country. And like you said, they've been there before. He knows how to coach in that situation. Mm-hmm. Another team that I would throw out there is the wrestling team with their success. And that is a sport that OSU has had great tradition. And they have a great coach, and he brings in top quality guys.
Yeah, Jim Zaleski's one of the best in the nation. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Final question for you guys, going back to basketball, but this time including women's basketball. Women's basketball or men's basketball? Who's going to make it to the NCAA tournament first?
Well, I think my view was kind of showed earlier. Women's basketball, what a great story women's basketball was. I mean, Scott Ruick comes in here a couple years ago, and they are depleted. I remember going into Sports Performance Center and seeing 3 girls on that team in spring of my sophomore year to get where the program is now, and they just keep climbing. NIT this year, they won a couple of games in the Pac-12 last year, which was Pac-10 last year.
Yeah, they surpassed expectations.
Yeah, and they won 3 games last year. This year, they almost went 500. It might have gone 500, and that he's got such a belief in his players, Scott Ruick does in that system. It's not a really knock on the men's team. I just think that the women's team is on the rise.
Yeah, they've made huge strides, and like you said, what a great story. They go to the WNIT. They just have such a great season, totally unexpected, totally out of nowhere. But like you said, your views were apparent. I think the men's team makes the NCAA tourney this year. I really do. I have a lot of faith in Coach Robinson, and from what I've heard from people outside the program, guys like AC Green really, truly believe that Robinson is the right coach for this program, and he's going to take them to high places, much like Ralph Miller did back in the day.
I have a question for you. What makes Coach Robinson such a great coach?
Well, first of all, obviously he's a great recruiter. And I think that although we haven't seen the results necessarily that the fans want, but the fans want the big results right away. They want the NCAA tourney right away. You got to remember, Robinson's coming into a program that's highly depleted, not as much as the women's program, but Jay John left quite a mess here for Coach Robinson to clean up. So I do have to say that
he had all his guys this year, though.
Yeah, he did, and he didn't live up to expectations, but he still had a good season and had a better season than the year before. And I think Robinson.
True that. That's true.
I think definitely. Robinson is the answer. Some people may disagree. If he doesn't have a good season this next season, you could say, oh, he didn't have Jared Cunningham, make an excuse. But no, I definitely think that he needs to continue to show improvement. But I do think the team makes the NCAA tourney. There's just so much experience on this team.
It's true. And I feel like I'm ripping a lot of the coaches right now, but I really do like almost every single coach. And
rip away. Rip away, man.
Coach Robinson, really nice guy. I see him all the time. Coach Raleigh, I see him all the time. It's just that the fans, I'm a fan. I'm a Beaver fan. And I would like to see us win games.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Beaver Nation does too.
And certainly, I mean, the men's team, they felt like they underperformed last year. So I don't think that's not news to anybody to say that whatsoever. But it would be great to see both teams make the NCAA tournament next year. How about that?
100%.
Well, yeah, but we can't. There's no argument there.
That's no argument, exactly.
I also think I'm wearing the orange and black tinted glasses pretty heavy. I don't know. I don't know if I can see out of them or not, but I've got faith, man.
All right. Well, that's all we can have in some situations. Well, that's all the time we have for you tonight.
Tune in on Friday, 2 to 4, for Against the Spread Sports Talk Radio with myself, Boon. Not Johnny this week, but sometimes Johnny. We got a great show for you guys this Friday, so please tune in.
Thanks for having me, guys, first of all, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the term.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you on, Johnny. And on behalf of Alex Crawford, Johnny Motomochi, and everyone here at the Beaver Sports Show, I'm Boon Kruger. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you back here next week.